And folks, we're back after a long hiatus. Jad Yamin here along with...
Sani Fakhouri!
Hey!
Yay.
What happened to your hair?
Genetics! Yay!
Hey.
Anyway. What are we doing here today, Jad?
First of all, should tell the good people who have followed and subscribed to our channel that now we are no longer bringing you the videos from public locations. We are actually in the basement of our house.
And this is the dungeon
room
of our place. Basically, you can see all of our titles behind us. Look at this wonderful backdrop for all of our videos. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
It really is. Today,
yeah,
we are going to be doing a strategy video for
Azul.
Azul.
Or as the Spanish call it, Azul.
Azul?
Azul.
Azul.
No,
So?
Azul.
What am I saying?
You're saying Azul. No, it's Azul.
Sure. Okay, so this is the strategy video for Azul. It's kind of a hotness right now, especially over here in Dubai, and I've seen almost every single time we go over, there's people playing this game. It's just fantastic right now. Totally fantastic. That's right.
Yep.
So we just wanted to go over some different strategies and what to think about when you're playing this game. I mean, the rules are easy enough, right? I think I've been able to teach this game in under 5 minutes. People are ready to go.
Yeah.
But when you get down to it,
it's not as straightforward as you might think.
Yeah.
You will find yourself in a bind. You will find yourself like, oh my god, I'm gonna take these 5 tokens and they're gonna go in the bottom on the floor and you're gonna score lots and lots of negative points. So how do you avoid doing that? Well, we're gonna tell you.
That's right. And so while we were sitting at the cameras, I set up this interesting board state. Now, notice we have 9 of these factory slots out, so this is matching a 4-player game. And we're going to assume you're going first, and we're going to talk about, different strategies, what do you expect, what are your goals in the round, right?
Yeah.
So let me start things off, Chad, and ask you, look at this board. This is we're playing on the easy side, where you have this pre-match side. What is your first gut instinct to take on this board? What would you grab first?
Oh, the 4 blues.
The 4 blues, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic, right? Everyone thinks that that's always a good play, and it usually is. It usually is. However, I made this interesting because I showed it this way. I didn't even tell this guy about it.
You tricked me.
When you're trying to build a good board and focus on the tiles you want to take, ideally you want to build towards columns.
Yes.
Because columns give you points.
7 points per column.
That's right, 7 points per column, as well as having an adjacency to tiles as you place other tiles down. So your job is to try to actually not only choose the first pick, which is the blues in this case, but also think about your future picks, right? Like, let's take a look at the board. If we look over here, we see this blue tile matches this space over here, and
Sure.
space out. What are the tiles above and below that?
You have the orange, and you have the...
What's an orange? It's more like a yellowy red.
Okay, maybe I should get my eyes checked out. Oh, yeah, yellow. Yellowy.
I'm just joshing with you. Yeah. So yellows and
this little white, blue, turquoise, which matches my shirt.
Yeah, and the black for mine as well. That's totally
by accident.
Shirt.
Oh my god.
All right. So and here's the thing, John. Like if you look at the board, you can see there's not a lot of yellows and not a lot of light blues. So great that you took an awesome first pick. But how are you going to get future points during this particular round? It's not going to be quite as effective. So the thinking here is that maybe it's better to think about what tiles are present and how many you see on the board at a particular time. Like, let's put this back and let's take a look. So if we look at all the number of tiles on the board, we see that there's a total of 10 of these dark blue tiles, 9 of the black tiles, just 5 of the reds, not so many here. I think there's also like 5 of the light blue, no, 6 of the light blues, sorry, those ones over here, the one that matches your shirt color. And this is something very important to think about. In the bag of destiny, which is where all the tiles come from, you have 100 tiles in total, 20 of each color. Now, if you look here, if there's 10 of the blue tiles here, that means there's only 10 of these back in the bag. But the other tiles, which are fewer on the board right now,
they're going to come up later.
That's right. So not only are you focusing on your board and what you're doing, but you also want to try to aim for the extra 10 points when you have all 5 of each color down, right? So turns out the slightly better play is to grab these 3 reds over here. And why is that? Well, take a look at these 2 spaces here. Okay, yellow, I've already established, is not very easy to do, but black...
Black, you can get 2 blacks very easily. You already you have 3 factories, as the game calls them, with 2 black tiles. So that's That's very easily an achievable 3 points.
That's right. Yeah. That's 3 points rather than one from that one if you fill it, and then 2 because there's already a column there. So this is another thing I want to point out, right? This is not a solo game. You're playing with other people. In the case of a 4-player game, fewer people are going to take their turns, right? You want to give yourself options, right? You don't want to rely on taking one factory tile, and then somebody goes, this looks nice, I'm going to take that.
The Nile.
And the Nile.
The Nile is not just a river in Egypt in this game. It's a very big part of the game.
Good one. So yeah, you want to definitely think about your first turn and then future subsequent turns, right? And ideally, this is a good time to look up and see what your opponents are doing, right? So for example, if you see your opponent has a board something like, like this, and it's likely they're going to try to go for the reds or the
they grab that thing.
Jad circular, that's right.
Grab that middle one so they don't do it or whatever, or try to not give them the tiles that they need to complete that.
Yeah, that's right. So it's just simple.
And going first is really important in the game, I found. Like you kind of dictate the pace of what you can do. I mean, if you're the first one to be able to, if there's even like a less optimal move here, even if it's not going to score you any points, but you can grab that first player marker, I think it's really important because it sets you up for giving you the most options.
That's right.
On the next turn.
Yeah. That's right. So you definitely would like to go first, maybe second. It really depends. But of course, if you're the player going first, there is no incentive for you to grab the first player token because that's just a -1 point. The game is balanced on the idea that if I went first and a player down the line will take the first player token, maybe because there's some nice tiles in the middle and he just wants to grab that first player token. Sure, he doesn't go last or second to last, right? So the first player position is important, but keep in mind it's -1 point, so you don't want to do it all the time. I think the last thing to worry about in this game is the negative scoring tiles, right? I can tell you, I recently played a game where people were taking tiles and they were shoving, one of all color in the middle, and it was like becoming a joke. And then I suddenly realized, oh no, I was the one who would have to take all of these black.
Yeah, it's happened quite a few times.
And I've gotten -8 points because of that. So be careful, right? Yeah. If people somehow agree to do this, great. But don't be the one to have to take all of these tiles. In other words, it could be game ending for you.
No, you should be able to break the chain. I mean, if at any point, again, it becomes even a second to optimal move for you to grab the middle ones, grab them because it might end up actually being you who has to take them. You cannot predict that many turns ahead of time. Yeah. So sometimes it's good, like you can push your luck and say, I'm just gonna keep shoving those out and then see who it lands. But if you think like maybe I can fill up the 4th row or the 5th row by taking these tiles, do it.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
That's right. Probably the most difficult thing about the 10 points is that 5th row, right? Yeah. Getting 5 of the same color is really hard in this game. I mean, there is no natural way to do it in one go. You have to commit yourself to doing it over 2 turns.
2 turns.
And
unless some freak accident happens.
Like that, for example. But when you commit to it, you're basically signaling to everyone, hey, can someone leave a blue for me, please?
Of course. Really fast. People are not going to be that kind.
They might not be that kind. That's right.
Especially in our gaming group.
Yeah. we are a mean bunch. Yeah. If you haven't noticed. Except, no, we're all
asshole central.
That's us.
Hey guys, we love you.
Yeah. So that's just it for some basics. I've talked about columns and how they're the best scoring possibilities, and usually you really just want to.
How many columns would you say normally in a 5-round game? Because I have seen very few games that went beyond the 5th round.
Yeah.
Yeah, except it was like maybe a 3-player game where people didn't fill that column on one of the goes because it was a reduced number of tiles. People went for the longer rows. Yep. It maybe went to a 6th or 7th round.
Yeah, that usually does happen. To be clear, you should be trying to fill the first and second rows when you
every turn
because it's so easy. It's 1 time. Points. The lower ones are naturally hard because you need more tiles, but. How many columns?
Typically, these 2 rows will be your easy multiple point at the start of the game because you can basically try to go at them in sequence or even skipping every one and doing diagonals so you can maximize the amount of points.
The horizontal.
The horizontal,
yeah, that's right.
So these are the things that will score you lots of points early on, basically. So.
But in terms of columns, I think 1 for sure.
For sure.
2 if I'm like feeling lucky. I haven't seen 3 yet. 3 is really unlikely. I think by the time you get to 3, people are like, okay, the game should have been over by now.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. That's it. That's basically our strategy advice for Azul. I mean, can you think of anything else? No? What?
But wait.
More things?
But wait.
What? Oh, the hard mode!
Shit, hard mode.
What? Did I
Yeah.
forget about the hard mode? Of course. The best way to play the game is the hard mode.
Yeah.
By the way, I've only played this like 0 times.
Really?
Yes.
I've played this a couple of times.
Okay, well maybe you can offer me some advice on how
All
I
right.
can do hard mode.
Like first time you approach this, you're gonna want to emulate the diagonals that are on the other side of the board.
Okay.
However, the order of those diagonals are gonna be up to you, right? You can go add them. Basically, whatever you put in the first 2 rows is gonna dictate what your diagonals are. But then, as you play it a couple of times, you start to remember that I'm not gonna fill all the columns. I'm gonna fill probably 2 of the columns. So that makes you want to focus on 2 either columns, either maybe probably the first 2, the last 2, depending on where you get your combos. And what's tricky about it here is you want to make sure, because you will forget visually to draw those diagonals in your head sometime. So you might back yourself into a corner by when trying to only keeping one type of tile at a time. So it's always good to make sure, like when you're placing the tile, to keep in mind, what am I gonna place? What are my options for the next row and the next row and the next row? Otherwise, you'll find yourself really backing yourself into a corner. And again, here denial becomes much more of an important factor, because depending on what your opponents try to do, the tiles that he needs are going to become more limited.
Okay.
So because your options are limited.
So you should be able to visually see what your opponent's trying to do and try to block them off.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do you find it better to focus on one particular color or a variety? Do you go for building columns first? You mentioned diagonals, but what's the ideal shape that you want to build when you're playing this hard mode?
From what I've only played this a couple of times. From what I see is that you'll eventually end up with probably the first 2 columns almost filled, maybe the second one not so much.
Columns are this way.
Sorry, the first 2 rows.
Okay.
You probably want during that process, you might eventually have a couple of diagonals here which are of a certain color. You might then complete that by putting another 2 here, so that you can have the 10 points from a single color.
Sure.
So I think it's 5, no? But usually it's been somewhere of a shape like so, with some tiles here enabling you to score points from maybe 2 rows, maybe 2 columns, and the 5 of the same color.
Fair enough. So like if you had 5 of the same color, you have to commit to the diagonal idea, because you can't have them in the same row.
No, of course not.
Something like that maybe, right? Possibly, potentially, maybe, who knows, right?
Something like that would
This
work.
would be very symmetrical and nice.
Yeah.
But it seems to me
Or even
that,
potentially like something like so.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you're probably going to be doing these 2, and then you're going to place these 2 diagonally to each other, and then as you start to fill these, you say, oh, okay, I'm going to try to do this, and then you go at it.
Fair enough. So I think for me, the way I see it is that if you're able to get variety of color, you should go for columns, right? If you get a blue and a red and a yellow and a Jad shirt color, and you should totally go for a column, because that's the most points you can get from that, right? Not only are you earning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, but you're getting the 7 points for the column, right?
Yeah.
However, if the board is giving you all the same color and you happen to take them all, like blues in this case, right? Then yeah, go for the 10 points. But be aware that you won't be making as many points, because these are all going to be separated out. You're not going to.
No, but eventually, I mean, these 2 rows are going to be filled for sure. In 5 rounds, you're going to fill these 2 rows.
Okay.
So, but just make sure that as you're building from the 3rd row onward, you can try to, for sure, complete at least 1 column, possibly 2. And if you're lucky, you can get the 5 colors. That's how it's played out for me. Or you can get the 5 colors in 1 column. That's also something that's come up a couple of times. Like in 2 of the games, 2 of the players were able to get 1 full column and 5 colors.
Okay, interesting. So you said like this game is about 5 to 6 rounds, right?
Yeah.
So ideally, maybe you're taking 3. Filling 3, maybe 4 if you're super lucky per round,
yeah.
Right? Because definitely you got the 1st, 2nd for sure, 3rd, 4th, 5th, not likely. Maybe you just commit yourself to the 5th and skip on the 4th and the 3rd row. So what? or 6 rounds times 3, 18. You're filling 18 tiles. That's a bit more than half the board.
Yeah.
So how you position yourself is quite important as well. But don't think about filling the whole board. It's just not gonna happen. No one's gonna let you do that. Okay. Great.
It's very important to remember that the game's going to end in 5 rounds. Keep that 5 round mental timer on your side.
And do look up every now and then, look at everyone else's board and go, can they finish the game this round? And if they can, go for the most points you can. And if they can't, then try to build up for a better column or try to finish the color of one.
So this was Azul, guys.
This was Azul. So is this it? Are we going to go on another year and a half hiatus before we do our next
No. We're going to try to keep at it and keep pumping out some videos. Maybe catch us next week with a scythe, possibly.
Scythe?
Yeah.
We're doing Scythe?
Yes.
Isn't
I
Scythe-
need you to explain that game for me. Because I am completely oblivious when it comes to forging the engine in that game. I guess it's just something about that game which doesn't compute in my head. So I need to figure out that programming, and I know you've got that figured out. So I wanted you to teach me and teach the good folks over at Yakhi Play what to do when playing Scythe.
You got it, man. Now that'll be for the next video, but you totally got it. Guys, thank you all so much. Should I do the whole like, comment, subscribe thing? No, you guys are too good for that. You do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. You guys are all adults, right?
Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay. So, all right.
Yeah.
Great. Bye, guys.